The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
It's Metaverse Week at CoinDesk, and we are going right to the center of the action with Mathieu Nouzareth, CEO of the Sandbox. Welcome.
Hi, happy to be here.
Very happy to have you here. You really are at the center of the metaverse action. So first question is, Sandbox has a lot of things that you can buy inside Sandbox, namely land. And, that land is very valuable for as long as Sandbox is valuable and for as long as Sandbox is active. Now, we obviously have some other competitors on the landscape, such as Decentraland is a big one, and also Other Side now from Bored Ape Yacht Club. And I was wondering if you could just explain to us, how Sandbox will continue to set itself apart and sort of maintain the value of the property within Sandbox as these other sort of metaverse competitors and more, we're going to see more and more in the future.
Well, first of all, we are big believers in a multi-metaverse world. So we're not saying we're going to be the only one in town. And actually, we welcome other metaverse to, thrive. So we wish them success. And we're working with some NFT programs to being interoperable. So we really believe that people should, go and roam from one metaverse to the other. That being said, I think the Sandbox is really unique in that it has very, very strong roots in being a game. And we've been building games for quite a while now, for many years. And when we built our Sandbox experiences, we always think of gaming first. So we're building features such as, challenges and quests and leaderboards and leveling up. And I think this really sets us apart from other metaverse, which are a bit more social or purely social by nature.
So one of the interesting things that's happening in the metaverse and a lot of these different games is that you're getting a lot of interest from celebrities and billionaires and multinational companies. And, they're coming in and in some cases they're sort of driving up prices, right? Like they are doing so in the real world. And I guess my question for you is, do you see that as a challenge in the sense that, the metaverse is supposed to be this, decentralized, more democratic place where sort of like ordinary people can get a chance to do things. And now, you're having some similar economic pressures play out in the metaverse that we see in the real world, just in terms of things like land scarcity, high prices. I'm just wondering if you see that as a challenge or not.
It's true that we have a finite amount of land. It's about 166,000 plots of land inside the Sandbox, and we've already sold 2/3 of it. That being said, we have 20,000 landowners today, which I think is one of the highest number of landowners in any metaverse today. And what matters for us is more the experiences that are going to be built on top of this land. The land itself is really not that interesting. We're really focusing on bringing brands, bringing artists, bringing individuals as well inside the Sandbox so that they can build content, they can create experiences that are going to be valuable for others. And I will also add that you don't need to own land to enjoy the Sandbox. You can really go and go to sandbox.game, and without owning any land, without paying anything, you can have fun and wander around.
Well, so I guess just sort of two related questions. One, do you have the issue though of people buying land and just kind of not doing with it, like just buying it as a speculative investment, and two, I guess the one of the concerns that I've heard from users of the Sandbox games in general is, what happens in the worst case scenario that Sandbox doesn't succeed, right? What happens to that land? Like, is there some sort of interoperability? Like, say I invest $1 million or whatever in a plot of land and I'm really excited about it, and then there's something goes wrong with the Sandbox. Like, what happens in that scenario?
So, everything inside the Sandbox is an NFT, including the land. So, in the worst case scenario, if Sandbox, goes south, you can still own land. You still have your NFT, and then it's about a rendering a question. How do we render that? And anyone should be able to, freely render, read the blockchain and render the land again. So, in theory, it should be possible for the Sandbox to exist without us. And to your earlier question about do people actually speculate and buy land and do nothing? It is possible, but it's not the best investment, because the best investment is actually to buy land and to build on top of it, to build experiences. So you're going to have the benefit of having an investment in a real estate investment, a virtual real estate investment, if you will, but also building economic activity on top of it, and getting revenues. So there is no reason to just buy land and do nothing with it.
Well, if you're a creator, Mathieu, is this more difficult of a system because you're going in there, you may not be able to afford the land. There was some news the other day that Singaporean billionaires had just bought some land in the Sandbox, so it could create potentially like this social hierarchy. And if that's the case, what do you do in that instance?
So, we have different size and different prices for the land. I mean, you can buy the smallest piece of land. It's what we call a 1x1, which is about 2.5 acres in the imperial system. I think it's 1 hectare in the metric system, and seen from an avatar's perspective. And this is I haven't checked the latest price, but I think it's around maybe 1 ETH. So it's still, it's not billionaire type of investment. And then you can buy bigger piece of land. Some of them can be very, very expensive, but they're like massive piece of land. We are also at the Sandbox, we keep for ourselves like around 15% of all the lands, especially for that reason, so that we can, rent it, or we can, use it for pop-up experiences for creators. So it is really possible for you as a creator to build experiences without investing a lot of money.
So Mathieu, the question that everyone hates in interviews for a job interview, but nonetheless I'm going to ask in this one, which is, where do you see this? Where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now? Where do you see the Sandbox? Where do you see what you're building? And where do you see the metaverse 5 to 10 years from now?
So we see the metaverse, as I was saying, like being a multi-metaverse world. I don't think there will be millions of metaverse like there are millions of websites. It's just not practical. And building a metaverse is really technically and from a product perspective, it's a very challenging endeavor. It's not something for, you really need massive team to build that. Maybe we'll end up, 5 to 10 years from now, in a world where you have, I don't know, maybe tens of general metaverse, and maybe you have a bit more like maybe niche metaverse. Our ambition at the Sandbox is not to be, as I said, not to be the only one. We just want to be the most exciting place, the most exciting metaverse. We want the Sandbox to be the place where the artists come, the interesting people, the big brands come. Very much like maybe the concept of mega cities around the world, like New York or Los Angeles or Paris or London, and that's really our ambition. That's why we're bringing so many brands and so many artists as well inside the Sandbox.
So I'm a huge believer in the potential of the metaverse, and I think this is a really cool space. But, like when the internet started, there were a lot of side effects that happen later down the line, right? Every technology brings good and it brings bad, same with crypto. So I guess my question for you is, what keeps you up at night? Like, what could go wrong? I mean, when we look at the future of the metaverse, what are some of the scenarios that you're just concerned about that could happen, that, this sort of new exciting universe could come and, bring problems?
For us, our highest priority is really to make the metaverse more accessible to more people. It is true that as the crypto industry in general, we have to do a better job at onboarding people, onboarding ordinary people, the friction to wallet, to digital asset, and create accounts with seed phrases and so on is way too difficult. That's really something that is keeping us awake at night. And then for the Sandbox in general, in particular, we were looking at competition. I think we are the leading one today, but certainly a lot of teams are building metaverse today. They're probably going to come up, online in the next few years. And that's something that really keeps us awake at night. We are also very aware of the challenges of, bringing safety to the users in a decentralized place, which is sometimes at odds. Safety and decentralization is not really to mix.